Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contract, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Startup Garage, your source for all things startup. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Cathy Cather on the line, and she's CEO over at Parallel Profile. Cathy, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk about Parallel Profile, where you're at with the company, what kind of benefits you see in the marketplace, and what you're doing around integrating pharmacogenetics. So got a lot to cover here today. But before we do that, tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got started, please.
Well, I've been in healthcare consulting, helping Fortune 500 employers improve their healthcare programs for their employee groups. And also doing consulting with leading-edge startups to help them deliver products that actually employers want to buy. And in the process of doing that, certainly I've learned a lot about what employers are looking for and what the problems really are. And then suddenly 3 people very close to me in a period of 3 years had an unexpected adverse drug reaction to prescribed drug, FDA approved, taking it properly, but for some reason it wasn't good for them. And my husband was in ICU and wasn't expected to survive, but gratefully did. My mother actually was put into a coma by a drug, and then unfortunately, finally, my really dear friend got cancer and died as a reaction to a drug. And I was stunned. I had no idea that it could be so common that I would personally be affected 3 times. But I did the research and I found it's actually a lot more common than people would think. 128,000 people die from a recognized and documented adverse drug reaction. Others aren't always recognized. And 2.7 million people a year are admitted inpatient, not just the emergency room, but actually admitted inpatient because of an adverse reaction. And so I started digging further into why that happened, how it happened, and I realized there's a tremendous opportunity to save lives, reduce injury, and as it turns out, save tens of billions of dollars a year. By avoiding those adverse drug reactions. So we created Parallel Profile to do that.
Wow, and I think that's a great transition. So let's just dive into Parallel Profile in the company. So tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
So what the company does is it provides a genetic test where the person swabs their cheek like 23andMe or Ancestry and sends back the sample, and then we're able to identify any genetic impact that their variations have. And 97% of Americans have a genetic impact that will affect a drug, which is why 90% of drugs don't work for over 30% of people. So drug failure is also another big problem. Antidepressants that don't work for some people. Type 2 diabetes medications don't work for some people. Statins, for cholesterol will actually give some people really serious wrist pain or knee pain. It's very common. So, for example, myself, and I'm average, I have 15 genetic variants that impact drugs, and it affects 84 drugs that are currently, commonly prescribed. So we're able to tell each person, and the real exciting news is that when I tell you which one you can't use normally, I can also tell you the alternatives that you can.
Wow. I mean, that's big. What do you, it's just kind of massive. I'm trying to wrap my head around this because it's obviously a big problem. You've been affected, and I love when entrepreneurs start businesses that, kind of come from that place of their heart, but obviously there's a big need out there. So you're trying to solve a problem. So I think that's an amazing task, obviously. So what do you see as let's talk a little bit more about the kind of the nuts and the bolts and the business of this. Like, what do you see the market as, or what do you see the opportunity as with this company?
Well, the great news is that every major employer offers a pharmacy benefit to their employees, and they have organizations called pharmacy benefit managers, or in the the lingo in the industry is PBMs, who make sure that the employers get the best price, and that's why you all have what's known as formularies. So if you want this drug versus that drug, it'll be a $10 copay versus a $25 copay or a $50 copay. And our opportunity is to take that, instead of having one list of approved drugs for everybody in the company, your formulary will be different than mine, so that I won't have a financial incentive to take a drug that won't work for me or might hurt me. And you might have a $10 copay on a drug that I'd have a $50 copay on. But this time, it's not based on volume discounts for having everybody take the same drug. This time, it's based on everyone taking the optimal drug that will work for them safely.
Wow, I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds like common sense. Like, I'm just throwing this out there. It sounds like, why isn't it already like that? I'm not asking you to answer that question. I just mean, like, just kind of wrapping my head around this, like, duh. That's what I get when you said that. I'm like, of course I want to take the drug if I have to take one that's optimal for me and not just based on some group discount.
Right. So, and because of the technology now, first of all, the genetics, the study of pharmacogenetics has really, really developed now, where more and more drugs are included, and so it makes sense to do it. That's one thing. The other thing is the technology of artificial intelligence, of big data. We can now know so much more, and so in addition to telling you which is the best copay, so I can tell you, here's the safest drug that'll work for you that has the lowest copay based on your insurance.
No, I love it. It's really the combination that makes it. I mean, it's awesome.
Right, and it wasn't possible 3 years ago. Now, what we've also done is we've also added the ability to make sure that it doesn't interact dangerously with something else you're already taken. Now, in the old days, if you went to the same doctor for everything, he knew what drugs he prescribed for you, so he knew what you were taking. But now the average person has 2 or 3 doctors. And also with all the apps that tell you which store has the best price for the drug you're going to buy, people don't buy them all at the same pharmacy either. Some they pick up at their doctor's, some they pick up near their work, others they pick up near their home, so nobody has knowledge of everything you have, whereas we know every drug you're on from your claims information, and you can also add your over-the-counter drugs. So a lot of parents didn't know, for example, that if your 10-year-old child is taking an ADHD medication, that they can't take a lot of the common cold medications in combination. People don't know that, and the doctor doesn't know that your son now has a cold and you went to the drugstore and picked something up. So the combination is important. And then, of course, for the college students, with ADHD meds and alcohol, not a good idea. So we tell you all of that, so we know what you're on. We know, and then every time you're going to take a new drug, you type in the first 3 letters, click on the name, and instantly, in a finger snap, it'll tell you the alternatives that you want to look at instead.
So let's talk a little bit about the money side of things. So are you currently raising money? Are you like where are you at in the business overall? Just so the listeners, a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, executive investors listening, lots of people listening for startup ideas and opportunities. Where are you at on the money side of things in raising, or if you're raising, that is?
Yes, we are. We're doing a Series A for 2.5. We are using the money to expand for the scalability because we just are launching our first major PBM program, so that it'll be available.
Congrats! That's exciting, by the way. Congrats!
Yeah, so 50 employers, 250,000
wow.
employees, and so there's a lot to be done with integrating with the claim system, integrating with their eligibility, and all those kinds of things. And so it's we're rocking.
That's awesome. So Cathy, that being said, if somebody is listening to this and they want more information and they want to connect and learn more about Parallel Profile, either because they're an employer and they want to think about what that looks like for their employees, or they're an investor and they want to further the conversation and learn more, I mean, what's the best way for people to reach out and to connect with the brand?
Well, parallelprofile.com, or you can reach me directly at Cathy, and that's Cathy with a C, at parallelprofile.com, and love to hear from you.
Fantastic. Well, Cathy, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about all the great work you're doing over at Parallel Profile. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to go to the website, leave us a review on the Apple iTunes Store. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Startup Garage, definitely leave us some comments in the video, but also let us know what kind of things you're working on. Love to connect and see what's going on in your world. And Cathy, thanks again for coming on the show.
My pleasure.